introduction. Thank you everybody for joining us. I am thrilled to be here representing Cape Verdean Women United and really letting our 5 peer leaders shine today. So before we get started and before I introduce them, just a quick overview about Cape Verdean Women United. We are coming up on our 5-year anniversary. And at Cape Verdean Women United, we are really focused on providing at our core violence prevention education and resources. And more recently, and continue to expand to just create and implement a variety of culturally appropriate education for the city, for our community. So also at our root is empowering and encouraging women to give back through them volunteering or just getting more involved in the community. We have a multitude of different programs and priorities. And the one that we are going to focus on today is our Healthy Relationships program. So this partnership, this program really launched with partnering with Family Community Resource in the Boys and Girls Clubs of Metro South. And we collectively were able to recruit a total of 15 peer leaders, 5 of whom belong to each of those partners. We were able to recruit these peer leaders that are Brockton residents to go through a training curriculum called the Safe Dates curriculum to really help them get some intel, get some insight on safe dating practices, on the goal of really ultimately building and having healthy relationships. So with that, the curriculum was a bit outdated. So they really helped inform the process. They helped us to be able to use common language, use common examples, to really bring it down to meet the diverse needs of the Brockton community also. So they were a key part of helping us to make what we called adaptations to the curriculum, all with the ultimate goal of what we learned earlier of creating conversations, of building education in the community, and really providing this education to our teens as young as possible. So I am going to allow them to just share bits and pieces from our curriculum. It's a lengthy curriculum. They've been with us for several months now. So there's a lot to be shared in this small amount of time that we have, but we decided to prioritize just a couple of big takeaways that we believe can help us start this conversation, help people to develop a good baseline, a good foundation to help teens have healthy relationships. So with me today, I have Alex, who's a local neighbor, so he's not too far down the street, so we joined Zoom together. I have also 4 other peer leaders. I have Brianna, I have Sanaya, I have Leilani, and I have Zion all with me, and you'll hear a little bit about them as they take each part of the presentation. And then at the end, they can go a little bit more in depth on their program, their schooling, and other things to help build more of a conversation. So to get started, I am going to pass it over to Leilani, who is going to kick us off with the introduction to teen dating abuse. And what she's going to first start doing is just sharing with all of us some big statistics to help set the framework for why this conversation is really important and a priority in our community.
Hello, I'm Leilani. So the reason why we want our community to be educated in this relationship dating abuse is because 1 in 3 adolescents in the US is a victim of some form of abuse from their dating partner. 1.5 million high school students nationwide experience physical abuse from their dating partner every year. 50% of adolescents who are involved in abusive relationships will commit suicide, and also because violent behaviors usually begin between ages 12 to 16. So it's important to start talking early. You want to go to the next slide? Is this me or is this?
Yeah, this is you.
Okay. So, dating abuse includes any behavior by your dating partner, like they can manipulate you, make you feel bad, make you feel afraid when they have all the power and they're basically putting you down. It can be any type of form, as long as your partner is like putting you down, making you feel like you're worthless. That can be abuse. Anything can be abuse, basically.
Yeah, for sure. And also thinking about, in a bigger picture is that it's just when dating abuse happens when it's used to control the way someone acts, the way someone feels, and as you heard Leilani, really taking that power over you.
So should I do the red flag?
Yeah, so Zion's going to tell us a little bit about when we are in abusive relationships. I'm sorry, I skipped a slide. I was like trying to manage screens. But before we actually go into red flags, Leilani's just going to tell us a little bit. Now, we learned about what dating abuse is, the different types of abuse that one can experience.
So the different types of abuse you can experience are like the general ones that you would think, right? When you think of like abuse, you think of physical, sexual, mental, verbal, and emotional. But there are some new ones that are kind of brought into it, which is financial, cultural, and technical, technological abuse. So, physical is obviously when your dating partner is physically abusing you and like hurting you. Sexual is when they're forcing you to have sexual. Let me talk louder. When they're forcing you to have sexual, like you call sexual intimacy with them when you don't want to, and then mental when they're mentally like abusing you and making you depressed, sad, all of those. Verbal when they're like bashing you, throwing you down, um, calling you names, gaslighting you. And there's also emotional when they're emotionally like tearing you down. And then we're gonna get into the other three that are not really known, which is financial when your partner is like financially stopping you from seeing your bank account, from having money. Basically, anything that has to do with money, they're not letting you do it, which is a way of them abusing you and not treating you like a partnership. We have cultural abuse when they're not letting you express your beliefs, your religion, your cultural like backgrounds and stuff when they don't let you do that anyway. That can also be abused. And then we have oh my god, I cannot say this. Technological abuse when they are, it's kind of like cyberbullying in a way. They like kind of like bash you on the internet and don't let you have internet or anything that has to do with technology. They're taking it away from you, or you know, yeah, that's it basically.
Yeah, no, good job. I know those are big topics, big words, and we've really spent a lot of time as a team breaking them down and talking further. So Leilani, you did a great job, and especially with the technology piece. We're forced to interact with each other now virtually through technology. So this piece has really increased in the sense that it's because technology has become such a large part of everyone's lives. Abusers can tend to use technology against the victims, right? As Leilani said, to also monitor, threaten, harass, and hurt them. So finding opportunities, however they can, to really have that power and control. So thank you, Leilani, for sharing those different types of abuse with us. And now we're going to have Zion just go a little bit further on some of the sort of unhealthy traits that you can see in any of those different types of abuse.
Thank you. In those types of abusive relationships, a common thing that we see or don't even realize are red flags. They can be used as warning signs that changes need to be made before the relationship gets dangerous, like being physically hurt, feeling afraid of your dating partner, being threatened, no respect, constant check ins, and one that was new to me was gaslighting. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation in which a person manipulates someone into questioning their own sanity, memory, perception, or judgment. It may invoke changes in them, such as low self esteem, rendering the victim additionally dependent on the gaslighter for emotional support and validation, using denial, misdirection, contradiction, and misinformation. Gaslighting is the most common in intimate relationships where there is an imbalance of power. There's 5 ways to spot it: white lies, denial in the face of proof, manipulate your feelings towards people or things against you. They wear you down over time, and their actions do not match the words. In order to gain control and power, a gaslighter will help on the gaslighted's insecurities. Also, there are common things someone can say that are forms of gaslighting. Like, you're so sensitive, you know that's just because you're so insecure. Stop acting crazy, you're just being paranoid, it's no big deal, etc. Gaslighting can be very dangerous. It can affect a person's mental health and it's emotionally abusive.
Mm-hmm.
So what is communication? Um, well, necessary for basic survival. Um, it says the way that we share, relay information, feelings, and experiences. I feel like communication helps you to better understand the needs and like feelings and experiences of others, and helps you to be able to explain that for yourself too.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And what you just heard Zion highlight are some of those what we call red flags, right? Like some warning signs that you may be in an abusive relationship. And one of the biggest takeaways that we learned was when you are in those abusive relationships or any relationship that you feel you don't have the opportunity to be yourself, to express your own feeling and be your own person, that a great foundational start is with communication. So at the very core, to be able to understand what communication is and understand the importance that it has. So thank you, Sanaya, for really setting the context that that basic communication is really a survival skills, right? It can be something as simple as eye contact, using words. Brockton is very diverse. There's a lot of cultural aspects also that can impact communication and how we communicate, but finding it and making it a priority to be able to not only explain to someone what you're experiencing or how you're feeling, but also what your specific needs are, so they are clear, there are no assumptions, and it's pretty you're being very direct. You're not leaving a lot of room for misinterpretation when we do communicate.
The importance of communication. Strong communication enables people to know and ask for what they need, resulting in higher self-efficacy, which ultimately leads to lower instances of bullying, violence, and self-destructive behaviors. It helps strengthen respect and builds trust, It helps to avoid assumptions and misunderstandings, and it allows for mutual support. Your experience and your feelings are valid and important, and they deserve to be shared and acknowledged.
Awesome. And communication is a skill, right? A lot of us are born great communicators, but it's definitely one of those concepts that not everybody, right, is born a communicator, but everyone can learn to assert themselves, right, while respecting feelings and beliefs of other people. So when you are being treated a certain way, or when you notice those red flags, it is important for us to be able to communicate and to do so effectively in a way that is positive, in a way that you're getting your feelings across, you're both understanding one another very clear without room for misinterpretation. And that takes a lot of practice too. So Sanaya is just going to talk about here, like an acronym that we came up with, SAFE, that when communication is not going well, right? Maybe it's new to some people, it's uncomfortable, maybe a new relationship, whatever it is, that when communication is not going well, that here you'll see 4 basic skills that can help resolve conflict effectively, right? So as you see here, each skill is represented by a letter in the word SAFE, and I'll let Sanaya break down what each of those acronyms represent.
Okay, so the S stands for state, the S stands for stay calm. So just to remain calm even if the situation isn't really going your way. A is for ask questions. So people tend to assume, and it's a very bad form of communication, and it's very common. So just to ask questions instead of just assuming, so that you can get a better understanding of the situation. F is for finding out feelings. I feel like I touched. I guess just to find out the feelings of your partner, and to make your feelings clear too, because you deserve that, for it to be mutual. And E is for exchange ideas for a solution. So if there is a problem, just to, I guess, brainstorm and talk about different ways to solve the problem. Because I saw a quote today. So it said, it's you and your partner against the problem, and people usually tend to see it as you versus your partner. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And then you'll realize too, oftentimes after staying calm, staying cool and collected as best as possible, you'll notice that once you get to the ask question segment, and after you guys actually ask each other questions, clear up any assumptions or misunderstandings, that whole disagreement might have just been what it is, a misunderstanding, right? Because it wasn't clear communication. So being able to use this acronym to allow people to have an opportunity to build equal power through communication. Awesome.
Okay. So another communication strategy is to use I feel statements. When you use I feel statements,
It looks like they froze for a quick moment, so we'll give them a chance to come back in. It happened earlier.
Did you lose them completely?
That's what it looks like. I was trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah, they come.
Oh, are we
Okay.
back?
You're there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. We're glad you're able to make it back.
Okay, sorry. I'll let Alex get back to
Right.
his show.
Okay, let me start. Oh, okay. Wait, should I start from the beginning or?
No, right here, it's good.
Oh, okay.
I didn't hear any in the beginning, so I don't know if
Oh,
anyone
okay.
else did.
Oh.
We'll start from my field statement again.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, another communication strategy is to use I first statements. When you use I first statements, it takes away the aspect of blame and instead it lets your partner and what it feels like to be you. It's from your perspective. So instead of you never call me when you say you're going to, try. I feel disappointed when we agree to talk on the phone and then I don't hear from you. Quality time for us to talk is important to me. Or, hey,
Sorry, I think I'm not sharing the PowerPoint anymore.
No, we were just enjoying Alex.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, perfect. We're getting there. There it is.
Okay, or instead of I told you not to talk to Melissa because she spreads rumors about us. What's wrong with you? Try. I feel frustrated because I told you how Melissa made me feel, and you haven't respected my boundary. Can we talk more about this?
Mhm.
So to wrap up about communication and how it can help us to not be in unhealthy relationships, remember that good communication between dating partners can keep the power in a relationship equal and can prevent abuse from happening. In relationships that are already abusive, the communication skills might not be enough. When victims of abuse try to use these skills, their effort might be blocked because the abuser does not want to give the other person any power. In the situations, it's important to seek help outside of the relationship.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, thank you, Alex. And one of the things that we heard earlier today also was the importance of experts, right? Of being able to identify when things have gotten to a point where you no longer have the skill set or the ability to be able to mend whatever the circumstances are, to be able to seek outside support. That's very important, to be able to identify resources in the community, which is a big part of the curriculum that we talk about, to be able to identify those allies, those support systems that exist to allow you guys to find support. Now, Brianna will tell us a little bit about another great component or strategy to have a healthy relationship.
All right. So another important strategy to have a healthy relationship is to set clear boundaries. And boundaries are type of guidelines or rules you set that establish how you would like to be treated by your partner or how they should behave around you. And you don't only maintain self-respect and protect your self-esteem by acknowledging the need to enforce boundaries, but you also establish a feeling of safety and mutual respect in your relationship in between you and your partner. And you always have to set healthy boundaries because unhealthy boundaries can lead to dependency and anxiety because you're basically allowing them to make decisions for you, like telling you how to think, how to feel, and how to act. You can go to the next slide. It's okay to let your partner know your boundaries, and if they are a healthy match for you, they will respect what you express. If they don't, and they like kind of like what Zion said, they gaslight you, you just need to step away or tell them to, get their act together. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, you're frozen, but we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, because it kind of froze. All right. So yeah, make sure they're a healthy match and they respect what you're telling them and the boundaries you're setting. And we tend to wait until a situation gets really bad to speak up, but what we don't realize is it's a cycle that just keeps on repeating. Like basically your partner does something bad and you're just like, I'll wait, maybe it'll stop, but then it continues and then it gets to a point where you're like, I've had enough, and then you tell them, and then they beg for forgiveness and like apologize, and then you forgive them, but then it just keeps happening over and over again.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then these are the statistics that Leilani started off with, and we wanted to end with it to let everyone know, especially teenagers, how important communication in
Brianna, I think you froze, but I can you can tag us in here. Alex and I will have your back. That what we wanted to do, I know we were told to sort of prepare like a 30-minute discussion for us today before we go into a bigger opportunity to have a conversation. But what we wanted to do is really end with the same data that launched our discussion today, to prioritize to enlighten us and inform us of these statistics, that these are real data. I think when Leilana read them, and whenever I've been to presentations, that third bullet point that says, 50% of adolescents who are involved in an abusive relationship will commit suicide, is one that people here, it kind of stops them in their track, and it aligns, it further reinforces the conversation that we had this morning earlier, that when we heard from Val really tell us about how her mental state was, the emotions, the feelings, and the opportunity and the advice that she gave about just listen, just have conversations, be able to be good communicators, be able to help ourselves to get informed, find resources, to be able to show up, and to not allow these statistics to continue to increase, but rather create opportunities to inform and educate our community, which is exactly what these peer leaders are learning to do. So today was their first sort of debut doing a presentation a little bit. Our goal is that we will take the curriculum and look for partnering organizations or partnering programs that they can go into. And this curriculum is about 8 to 10 sessions that we would meet with teens to be able to build on the information. So today was a snippet almost, if you would, sort of like a little bite size of the full curriculum. But today really set the tone of, and this is what we start with, about understanding the power and importance of communication, and then moving a little bit into boundaries. So these statistics are real. These statistics are they're unfortunate, and they're ones that we as a community can address. We can improve. We can prioritize to talk about these, to create spaces that teens or young children are hearing this, families are hearing this, the community is hearing this, and we're finding ways to really do better.
I think the information that you shared is really necessary for our youth today. And I think as a school liaison, I am seeing numerous kids experiencing multiple events in their lives, whether it be trauma at home or they're witnessing domestic violence in their family, that we know that it increases the chances of that relationship that they eventually have kind of mimicking it. And I think we talked on Thursday, but I'll say it again, that we need our youth like you guys to be out there and to communicating on these important topics. And I think this is another one where there's this hush hush conversation and people aren't as open and receptive, or they think oh, that's more of as you get older situation, not necessarily a teen issue. And I think for me, I witnessed firsthand with my own daughter, someone that she really cared about, and there was that piece on gaslighting that was happening. And she's 16. So to recognize, wow, this is really happening to our kids. And I think the work you're doing is beautiful and amazing. And I wanted to ask a quick question before I open up the discussion, but, and this can be for any of you, but I think in particular, the peer leaders, what made you want to be a part of this conversation? What was it that drew you into this is an issue in our community and this is something I want to be involved in? What was maybe that one moment or one statement? And Diane, did you want to say something?
Um, for me, this is just speaking for me, because I wanted to speak, like, be a part of it because I realize not a lot of, I guess, grown-ups really look into what happens with teenagers as they start dating, or they don't want to, I feel like as though they don't want to understand, like, they're sometimes a little stubborn not to, like, listen to their kids or listen to other teens about it because it's like they make it seem like you're still a kid when it's like we're like 14, 15, 16 years old and we're getting older and we're not kids, we're basically young adults. So, and even still, we still have the same problems as adults, like with mental health and physical abuse at the same time. So that's why I've wanted to join, because it's a chance to speak up about it, because I feel as though not a lot of adults really get into what happens with teen dating violence and just teen mental health and issues that go on right now. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you for that. And again, it's that voice. Your voices matter, and having a platform to discuss these hard topics, like we heard from Belle earlier with the suicide and the conversation that's not happening around that. And then knowing, like Maria said in the statistics, 50% of teens in these abusive relationships, it leads to suicide attempts or actual follow through. So that mental health piece is huge, especially at this point in your lives. Is there anyone else that would like to add to why this is so important to them and why you chose to do this?
I felt like there was just a lot that I didn't know. And so while we were training for this, I realized just how much of dating abuse got normalized. And so basically I just wanted to learn, and I really wanted to be around it too.
Great. Great. Some points. I think another question, and then if anyone else has any, is what can we do as adults? If you could give us one piece of advice that has had an impact on you or you think would have an impact on your community, what would it be so that we can understand it better or at least start the conversation? Because that's a hard conversation to have.
I would say listen, because I feel as though not a lot of adults, some adults don't really get to sit down and listen because they like to jump in and try to take over the conversation and like explain from their point of view when it's really your point of view that needs to get across and your feelings on the table and not theirs. So I feel as though they should be able to listen and take in how we feel as teenagers, young adults, and get to know the issues that we go through, even if we don't even show it. Like the girl that was explaining what she was going through in her life. Yes, she had friends, she was popular, she was all of this, but people like that still go through things even if you don't have as many friends or if you don't have all the things you have. So I feel as though you should still be able to listen to your kids if they're going through anything. So I feel as though listening is a good thing to really do for your kids.
Great. Thank you for that, Zion. Anybody want to add, or does anybody have questions?
Hi, Faith. This is Tina Cardoza.
Hi,
Hi,
Tina.
everyone. Thank you for joining. I am so proud of our peer leaders today and proud of Maria for the work that she's done with them. I get very emotional, so I'm listening to them and I'm tearing up here. This is near and dear to my heart because I was a teen mom and I got into relationships very early on. And I really didn't have healthy relationships to model in my life. My father was an alcoholic and there was always fighting at home and a domestic violence situation. And then I found myself in a domestic violence situation. So I'm a survivor and I wish I had better relationships to model growing up. It would have saved me a lot of pain. And I'm hoping that with this program, I can share my story. We can have other folks share their stories. The peer leaders can share what they've learned with this curriculum. And we could really put an end to domestic violence, to teen dating violence. Like Zion shared, oftentimes adults are going through their own problems and they have very little time to pay attention to what youth are going through. So I love this model. I love giving youth a voice. And I love that they're able to learn and then share with their peers what they've learned and hopefully put an end to violence against women especially. We suffer a lot in this community, and I'm really glad that we're tackling this really early on with the peers, with the youth. So I have a question for my awesome peer leaders. How would you guys have this conversation with someone right now, given what you've learned? Just one of your peers right now. How would that conversation, what would that look like, given what you've learned so far? And thank you all again for joining. I'm so proud of you. And thank you, Maria. You guys did an awesome job.
Don't all go at once, each take your time. Tina, I think Alex would like for you to repeat your question, please.
So Alex, if you were gonna have this conversation with a friend of yours around dating violence and what you've learned so far from Maria, how would that conversation, what would it look like? What kind of things would you say to your friend who was in this situation or potentially thinking about dating? What would the conversation be like? Is that a tough question for you guys just yet?
Is it harder with your peers to think about how you'd have the conversation than it is maybe an adult? That might be one of my questions to follow that up.
I bet it would, yes. So if it's still kind of difficult and you're still thinking it through, that's understandable. But as you start to learn more from Maria, think about, you're learning a lot of big words and big concepts. Think about how you would then translate that to have a conversation with your peers as you go along and you continue to learn. We still have quite a bit of learning to do. There's a lot more that, Maria is going to share with you all, but really start to think about what would that conversation be? Now that you have this knowledge, how would you then have those conversations with people of your age in the community?
That's a good question, Tina. And I think Sanaya had unmuted. So hopefully she can share something with us.
Okay. I was just saying, at first I was getting my thoughts together, but I feel like with it being, if it were a peer, we would be more comfortable speaking about that. So it would probably, because I trained on it, I would probably just have to bring it up randomly. And I feel like we would just be able to talk about it from there and then just give examples And like if it strikes anybody or if they can relate, then they'll just be comfortable chiming in because we're peers. And then I would just, just tell them what I've learned, but probably explain it more because I needed deep explanations while I was training for it.
Thank you, Samaya.
Thank you.
I was going to ask Maria a quick question.
Sure.
What do you think is the best piece of advice you've ever received around relationships or communication or any of the things that you discussed today, and maybe how it brought you to where you are?
Sure. I think for me, similar to what Tina was talking about, I grew up in a Cape Verdean household. And when we talk about dating, when we talk about abuse, it looks very different from what, when I moved from Cape Verde to Brockton. Dating and dating abuse is very different. And one of the things that I learned is just the power that we have to be able to educate ourselves and also advocate for ourselves. So what I learned most, and what I continue to have them really understand, is that help us build a definition of healthy, because what is healthy culturally to me may not be the same for others, but really creating that baseline understanding of what they deserve and what they should ask for, almost like we talked a little while ago, almost like demand, right? That this is non-negotiable. This is a requirement that we must have, and understanding that there are components that are flexible. But when we're talking about in building healthier relationship, whether it be intimate relationship or personal, whatever the type of relationship that you're building, the importance of that initial foundation of building that healthy component. So for me, it was really thinking how diverse the Brockton community is, how culturally diverse we are, and how relationships look different depending on your background, and also understanding that no matter what those components are, there still should be a level of a healthy relationship.
Go ahead, Janet.
I just wanted to ask the students, during this pandemic, which has been now a year, a lot of things you read say that kids have increased anxiety, fear of returning to what we see as normal relationships and friendships. I mean, do you think that that's a factor in your lives, and that you've kind of lost your safety net of relationships?
Alex is answering the question to me, but I'm encouraging him to answer. He's extremely shy, guys, and virtual. Look at all his peer leaders rooting for you, Alex. Okay, you can do it.
No, I said it's true. With the pandemic, a lot of people got like social anxiety. They like just forget how to act in front of people. Because yeah, it's those kind of things.
Thank you. Good job. Good job.
Great job. So you're getting all kinds of skills during the pandemic, though. You might have to, there's a lot of negatives, but you're here educating, you're here with your face first and foremost, and you're presenting yourselves. And I think that the potential and the growth that you're going to have in your community is going to be something to look for. And I appreciate all of the hard work that you guys have put into this. I don't know if you want to quickly put in the chat an email or a web address or anything for them. I know we're going to pass stuff along. If you have anything else to add, Maria.
Yeah, I will actually piggyback on, I'll put those information in the chat. I'll put the Cape Verdean Women United, our website. Tina is our executive director, so She's a very familiar face in the community, so I think people have an easy way to access us, and I'll also include that in the chat. And I thought I saw a pop-up come up a few minutes ago that we had about 10 minutes or so, and I would love to think about sort of next phase of wrapping up, if each of the peer leaders could maybe share their biggest takeaway, the biggest thing that they learned, or what they felt just really hit home for them. But as we've been together for the last few months, what has been one of your biggest learnings from going through the safe dates and from us engaging and learning with each other? And in order for you to leave the breakout room, you must answer that question. So I'll see who goes first.
One thing I find really important is like that I learned was that there's many resources and people you can talk to if you're going through a tough time in a relationship. There's yeah, there's like you could talk to counselors, and even we talked about, was it law enforcement? And then there were hotlines that you could call and all this stuff. So that's what I find most important, because I mean, we know that we learn in school that you can always talk to your guidance counselors, but they don't really talk about other people you can talk to. So, yeah.
It's awesome. I'm sorry, Chris, were you talking? I didn't know if you were talking to us.
No, I did not. I'm sorry. No.
Oh, that's okay.
I found good communication most important because it's the basis for a lot of things that we've learned. I was gonna say boundaries, but you need communication for boundaries.
Yeah, communication and boundaries are, like, I think it's the most important two things that you have to have in a relationship. You have to communicate with your partner, and you have to set boundaries, the things that you don't like them to do, those sort of stuff.
I learned that trust is also another big factor in dating. Because, sometimes when in a relationship there's not that much trust, and then someone gets kind of paranoid with the other person, and then the relationship starts to fall altogether. So it's like trust is a good thing to have, and it also falls under like communication to have trust, like Sanaya said. So I think trust is also another big factor in dating.
And I know that was a big reason why, when we were talking about, there's so many topics and so many sessions to the curriculum, that we all truly aligned and believed that if we have any little bit of time to talk or highlight the learnings, that we would definitely enforce how important it is to have good communication, and how important it is also to be able to set boundaries, to advocate for yourself, and talk about things that you enjoy or don't enjoy. So all in the journey of building a healthy relationship, healthy partnership.
And I was just going to read, I don't know if you guys saw in the chat, but Lenny said it's great the information that was shared, and important to share with others as it crosses to other means of having healthy relationships with people in general. And the statistics, I can't speak either, are important to share. The more we are aware, the better. And then Janet said, so proud of all of you students. You have to be very brave to speak in such a public forum. And I think we can all do that for you on this one. Great job, not easy, but again, it's one more life skill, and it's towards that communication and boundaries that you're encouraging in relationships and taking away. And we're going to be booted out in a minute, but I want to say I am very pleased to have partnered with you guys. I'm very proud to be able to learn from you. And I appreciate everyone that was able to come into our breakout room today and and just give you guys an opportunity to share something that's very important. So thank you guys.